I knew when I asked you to be cool about what I was telling you. You would do the opposite of what you said you'd do, and I'd end up more afraid.
I knew when I asked you to be cool about what I was telling you, you'd do the opposite of what you'd said you'd do. Great line. So it sounds like she broke up with him already. She's like, okay, you have to be cool, you have to be calm. I'm going to tell you something really hard to hear right now. And he flipped out. That didn't help. Yeah, it doesn't. I love that idea. You have to be calm. You have to be cool with what I'm about to tell you. Well, I'll do my best, but like the house we're in is on fire. Like I reserve the right to now leap out the window. I don't know. That's a bad analogy, but you know what I mean.
Raise a glass, raise your hands with me.
I wonder if I could turn that into an act. I just do that around the country. I kind of smile awkwardly at people and I just play. If I did a national tour doing that, would you come? Let's not go forward on that. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're well. I am good. Quick update. No, I have not moved yet. Yes, I am still in this apartment that I like this apartment. It's a good apartment, but doesn't have quite the space. I was trying to upgrade. Thought I had a place for a little while. Things kind of fell through. Anyway, I am still connoitering. I'm not sure if that's a word. You will have to deal with this weird background for another little while, but hang in there. We're going to move together. We're going to find someplace cool together that is affordable and that they don't hike the rent up on you $300. The day before you decide to sign or not. Okay. Anyway, so what are we here doing today aside from complaining? We are going to watch the full video for Happier Than Ever by Billie Eilish. Now, I know I recently did a video about the Grammy Song of the Year. Got a pretty good response from you guys. I was really, really excited and happy you guys liked it and watched it, and some people disagreed and some people agreed, and we all understand at the end of the day that this is about my opinion, and that my opinion in general is correct, but it's just my opinion, okay? And in that video, I watched the first half of about of the 10 different songs, about the first half. Some of the songs I actually did watch all the way through or listen all the way through. Not all of them, though, and actually one of them that I didn't watch all the way through is Happier Than Ever. The reason being was that I had to get a lot of things into the small amount of memory I have to be able to shoot these videos with on my phone, and so I couldn't really sit there and watch the whole song and do longer analysis of the whole song without knowing that my phone was going to stop recording. So today, we are going to jump into one of those songs, Happier Than Ever. I know I've been told in the comments this is one of the songs people wanted me to do a longer version of, and many people said, you know, the second half of the song, there's a big shift, there's some big sort of change. Okay, so spoiler alert, if you have not watched that, it was spoiled for me too, but I asked for it. Anyway, you've asked for it a little bit too, by watching this before. If you haven't watched the original video, please go watch that and then come back here. Anyway, so that's what we're doing today. We're going to do that, and here we go. Billie Eilish, Happier Than Ever official music video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, should you feel inclined. Thank you.
When I'm away from you, I'm happier than ever. Wish I could explain it better. I wish it wasn't true. Give me a day or two to think of something clever, to write myself a letter, to tell me what to do. Do you read my interviews? more do. You skipped my avenue when you said you were passing through. Was I even on your way? I knew
Like that little harmony.
when I asked you to be cool about what I was telling you. You would do the opposite of what you said you'd do, and I'd end up more afraid. Don't say it isn't fair. You clearly weren't aware that you made me miserable. So if you really wanna know when I'm away from
Okay, so we have water dripping. Again, sonically very kind of like faded. She's almost like crooning herself. She has a very laid back, almost, yeah, kind of like 50s Brat Pack kind of style to it. Kind of sashaying through the beat of the song. Almost ironic sound to her voice, even though it's very high and very pretty. I think the lyrics kind of make us think about a certain kind of humor to it almost. I'm getting a very weird sense. This is a very odd... There's something spooky about this hotel room, kind of like it's got like eternity vibes. We're only in this room. We haven't seen anything outside of this room. She's on the phone, kind of. She's on a very old school looking phone. I think these fancy hotel rooms have old looking phones for some reason. I think that's they're so fancy their phones are old looking. I don't know what it is. Anyway. She's on like this gold phone in this gold room. She's dressed like a normal person, which is always like the symbol of like rock star. If like they aren't dressed in like a business casual or something like that, she's dressed like a human being. When I'm away from you, I'm happier than ever, right? It just starts off kind of this brutal kind of almost, it's a very passive aggressive thing to say. Wish I could explain it better. I wish it wasn't true. Give me a day or two. You know the song. I don't have to sing for it. All right. To think of something clever, to write myself a letter, to tell me what to do. What a fascinating predicament. You're in a relationship with somebody who you love them enough that you don't want to hurt them, but you know you don't want to be with them. And you're finding ways to approach that subject. Do you read my interviews? You skipped my avenue when you said that you were passing through. Was I even on your way? No, it's not that. It's not D minor. So, do you read my interviews is such an interesting question to ask somebody, especially if you're very famous. She's revealing to a certain extent that it's important to her whether or not he does read her interviews, because like this seems like somebody familiar to her, somebody that she's in a relationship with, not necessarily like a stalker or something. Because do you skip my avenue? See, there's so many disparate ideas here. Do you read my interviews? It's like that seems to me like she's talking to somebody who's close to her. It's hard to know what answer she's looking for there. You know, does she want him to be reading her interviews? Or is that creepy? Is that too much? It might be creepy. Like, why are you reading my interviews? You know all this stuff. You don't need to read my interviews. Or, I don't know. I don't know what it would be. Tell me below. If you were Billie Eilish, would you want the guy reading your interviews? I think I might not if I were her. Or do you skip my avenue? That's really kind of visceral idea too. Like, yeah, like when you're around something that reminds you of an ex, do you skip it? Do you somehow get it out of your way? If, maybe it's something in your house or something that reminds you of an ex, and do you maybe throw it away or give it away or something like that? And maybe if somebody lived in a certain street, or maybe you went to a certain bar or something together all the time, and maybe you skip that bar, maybe you don't even go near that part of town anymore. There's different ways people can handle deep kind of penetrating hurt. When you said where you were passing through, was I even on your way? Which makes it now sound like he was trying to see her. He wasn't trying to avoid seeing her. Now he was trying to see her. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it's like when you're hung up on somebody and you're like in a breakup or something, and you're kind of, I must only be with them or I must never be with them. You know, if I'm going, you know, and maybe he's doing weird, creepy stalker stuff too, as much as he's also seeming like he wants to be away from her. I knew when I asked you to be cool about what I was telling you, you'd do the opposite of what you'd said you'd do. Great line. I knew when I asked you to be cool about what I was telling you. So it sounds like she broke up with him already. She's like, okay, you have to be cool, you have to be calm. I'm going to tell you something really hard to hear right now. And he flipped out. That didn't help. Yeah, it doesn't. I love that idea. You have to be calm. You have to be cool with what I'm about to tell you. Well, I'll do my best, but like the house we're in is on fire. Like I reserve the right to now leap out the window. I don't know. That's a bad analogy, but you know what I mean. Like if somebody's going to tell you something devastating, you might devastate them. You can ask them to be cool and you can try and cool yourself, but it may be a devastating thing. And especially if somebody's just madly, madly in love with Billie Eilish, and it's Billie Eilish, so she's famous also. So not only are you like losing cool girlfriend, you're losing like your access to fame and everything. So my guess is, yeah, she has to like talk you down and be like, so, all right, I've got good news and bad news. The bad news is we're breaking up. The good news is I want you to be really cool about it. I don't know. Okay, you do the opposite of what you'd said you do, and I'd end up more afraid. Fear. That is something that is, I think, a very specific aspect of life that is really being illuminated as women are kind of allowed to enter the modern zeitgeist of culture, right? You just become much more aware of how terribly afraid women are all the time. We've talked about this a bunch of times. I'm a very large guy. I'm 6'5". I know I look like a normal. I look like a normal here in this chair, but I am a larger than normal. Like, and if I'm breaking up with somebody, of course I know I'm not going to do anything physical. They know I'm not going to do anything physical, but there's still the possibility if I'm breaking up with somebody, and let's say she's a woman who's much smaller than I am, I don't have to really worry about her physically getting too emotional. I mean, maybe she'll start hitting me, but chances are I don't have to explain the dynamics of boys and girls, but I'm just saying from my point of view as somebody who just never had to worry about it really, like the I'm breaking up with you and I'm afraid of you, and just kind of learning that like women have to just kind of swallow some fear and just be like, well, I kind of am afraid of this guy, but I'm just going to deal with it and date him anyway or something. It sounds like this person's very emotional too, very reactionary. It sounds like she's really tending to him and his feelings. Of course, and I'd end up more afraid is the first reason we've heard why it's over. She's not like, well, you're bad in bed, so it's all been about him, and like I'm going to look, we have to focus on how you're going to handle this. It's like it's been, she's approaching it like it's been handed down from corporate, right? It's like, turns out we got to break up. You freak me out, and you're way too emotional, and I'm 20, and stop it. And don't say it isn't fair. You clearly weren't aware that you made me miserable. Think of that. You clearly weren't aware that you made me miserable. Again, she's very kind of tending to his emotional needs. Her misery is secondary in that sentence. You didn't know that you made me miserable. Oh, by the way, yes, I'm miserable. But you didn't know. It's okay. It comes at the expense of his feelings. You can hear her wrestling with that. It seems like to me. This room also has like a very kind of like the light is a little blown out coming out through the windows. It has kind of an ethereal. It almost kind of looks like a Kubrick scene. Doesn't this kind of like a Kubrick kind of vibe to it? Very slow moving dolly shots, everything in the center of the frame.
I'm happier than ever.
And we've got water here.
Wish I could explain it better.
Like the shirt. You got electricity
I
problems?
wish it wasn't true. You called me again, drunk in your Benz, driving home under the influence. You scared me to death, but I'm wasting my breath, 'cause you only listen to your fucking friends. I don't relate to you. I don't relate to you, no, 'cause I'd never treat me this shitty. You made me hate this city. And I don't talk shit about you on the internet. Never told anyone anything bad, 'cause that shit's embarrassing. You were my everything, and all that you did was make me fucking sad. So don't waste the time I don't have. Don't try to make me feel bad. I could talk about every time that you showed up on time, but I'd have an empty line, 'cause you never did. You never paid any mind to my mother or friends, so I shut them all out for you, 'cause I was a kid. You ruined everything good. Always said you were misunderstood. Made all my moments your own. Just fucking leave me
It's like a post thing scene. Okay. Whoa. Wow. Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Okay. Now I see why everybody got mad at me for not watching the second half of it the first time. Okay? Okay, so just sonically, I'm blown away by the kind of explosive bass that comes in the second half of that song. My monitors were not rumbling, though. They created a sound where it sounds like the bass drum and bass drone or note or however they're playing it. They collide together and they have this big explosive sound, but it isn't blown out. Really well recorded. I love the kind of really overwhelming, dirty, deep kind of. You can hear that she has like some metal influences and some kind of harder rock influences. I mean, it's like a timpani, and it's like I think they probably even have tracked over like explosion sounds and stuff. You can hear that deep bass drum, that you can hear that deep snare that barely has the snare on it. It just sounds like almost like a tom. It almost kind of sounds like it's almost like an exaggerated John Bonham sound, that kind of low thud, exploding kind of hit on the skins. Awesome, really like it. I said this was definitely my favorite song of hers before, with that really little like, do you read my interview? And then when it expands into this larger song, I can see the epic nature of it, and I can see why you guys were like, you have to watch the second half of this thing. Like I said, I think the last thing I was talking about was how it seems very Kubrick-y. It seems very kind of slow and menacing and weird, and then we get this slow indication that water's coming in. Right, and where are we? We're in this fancy hotel room. You can see the water there, kind of, ruining this floor inevitably, depending on their finish. She's like in the same conversation she's had 20,000 times with this person. And no, I don't like it's, if you're breaking up with somebody and they're like trying to like argue you back into the relationship and they're like, no, you just haven't thought this out. Like, no, we need to end, we need to stop. And you stop being nice after a while and kind of the dam breaks and you become this, and you finally can start kind of representing yourself. And I guess she finds herself on this roof, and this also makes me think a lot about environmental stuff, kind of the dam breaking in a variety of different ways. You think about like the people during Katrina, and you just think about all the different kind of horrible things that people have had to deal with. We're invoking that idea of her being on this roof in this storm, and maybe she's adrift, or maybe she's terrified, but she's exuberant, she's happy. I mean, it's a down, bam, 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 it has that deep pit of your stomach kind of feel, but it seems like a very joyous thing for her. I mean, let's look at it. Let's look at how she's acting. Just the kind of exuberance of the fucking, I finally had it. And I love how she slips fucking into every sentence. It reminds me of and I need you now tonight. I fucking need you more than ever. You called me again, drunk in your Benz, driving home under the influence. You scared me to death, but I'm wasting my breath because you only listen to your fucking friends. Makes it sound like he called her drunk, driving home late at night to like scare her. To be like, see how screwed up I am without you? You really should be with me because look how horrible I'm being to myself. You're being really irresponsible for letting me drive drunk because you made me so sad. That's what it sounds like to me. I mean, I'm hyper simplifying this. I'm sure this is a dude with a life and a real. I don't know anything about her life. I don't want to know. I much prefer not knowing the specifics in general, but it sounds like it's a dude who is kind of a butthead, but he's a real person probably, and he maybe has a drinking problem, and maybe he has a abandonment issue, or who knows. But it sounds like he's in a great deal of pain, great deal of hurt, and he's trying to save this relationship by kind of exploiting that. You scared me to death, but I'm wasting my breath because you only listen to your fucking friends. I don't relate to you. I don't relate to you. Because I'd never treat me this shitty. You make me hate this city. It seems to me like this is the straw that broke the camel's back. I could never do that. This has happened to me, and I was just thinking of another relationship in my life. When I realized something that they did was so incredibly shitty that it kind of severed my ties to them. And it's a little bit sad, but it's sometimes necessary when you really have to look at a certain relationship and see, oh, this person really did that, and that was effed up. I don't think I could do that. And if I did do that, I would feel awful about it. You know, even though it's a sad, dark, angry song, I kind of feel happy for her a little bit that she's able to express this and kind of break through some of her anxiety about hurting this person's feelings. And I don't talk shit about you on the internet. This is clearly something he is doing. Never told anyone anything bad because that shit's embarrassing. You were my everything. And all that you did was make me fucking sad. So don't waste the time I don't have. Very direct. None of this really needs any analysis. She's just telling you what happened. Don't try to make me feel bad. I could talk about every time that you showed up on time. But I'd have an empty line because you never did. Never paid any mind to my mother or friends, so I shut them all out for you because I was a kid. Okay, yeah, that's another thing. It's like people who want to divide you, be very wary of people who want to divide you from family and friends. Unless sometimes those people are trying to help you. Really helpful advice, Andrew. It sounds like she's battling internally. It sounds like she has the person in her head. It sounds like she has a person in her head who's always kind of throwing lines back in her. Sometimes this could be the voice of somebody from your childhood, somebody who's hypercritical, somebody in your life who is just constantly criticizing you. And you maybe have internalized that voice, or maybe it's him, or maybe he's the one who's constantly criticizing her. She says she was a kid when she was with him, so maybe she's internalized all of the little arguments that he would use to kind of worm his way back into her life. He's probably like, you always focus on the negative. You never focus on the good times. And she's like, I could talk about every time you were on time, but I have an empty line because you never did. You're always late. You ruined everything good, always said you were misunderstood, made all my moments your own, just fucking leave me alone. I really get the sense that she's overcoming a great inability to say these things. She didn't want to harm him. She didn't want to hurt him. She didn't want to make him do something stupid to himself. And he would probably dangle these things in front of her, and she's finally saying, you know what, enough is enough. Not into it, man. I'm happier than ever. And that's the name of the song, even though it's this dark, awful kind of foreboding imagery. We're in this kind of spooky hotel room. She seems really depressed, and now she's out underwater. And though she's kind of in a way different situation than that hotel room, kind of nice and protected. She's out, alone on this roof in a storm, and she's probably going to drown. But she's happier than ever because she was able to say these things, able to break through. And I really like the second half. I think it's a really powerful moment that she's captured. Normally, I don't like the highly compressed vocal coming in with all the kind of weird harmonies. I'm okay with it here because they earn it a little bit with that deep kind of angry Bonham sounding bass drum and low bass vibe. You need that to get over those sounds. And it doesn't sound artificial as much as that sometimes can. So this is a cool song. This is a very cool song, and I'm happier for her than ever. I just checked out the SNL version of this song. Really enjoyed it. It'll be available on my Patreon, my reaction to that. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider liking. Please consider subscribing. Every little bit of subscription helps, and helps the algorithm and helps the channel grow. Check out my Patreon for full versions of these videos where I go into a little bit more analysis on the lyrics and on some of the other things that I like about the production. And until next time, keep playing.